Welcome to another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Connor Moreno, lead writer for the UCLA Bruins on SI. And today we're going to talk about baseball. The baseball team played their last two, or I should say 1.5 College World Series games today. They lost both of them, which means that their season is over and they're out for the rest of the tournament. So today we're just going to talk about recapping those two games that they played today and previewing their next season and what's to come. And then towards the end, we're going to have a little bit on UCLA football. Today they held a camp for around 700, a little bit over 700 recruits, held a camp, threw out some offers. I have a cool little story that I'm going to talk about that I'm releasing tomorrow. So let's get right into it. UCLA. So let's date back to Monday. Monday, they go into their matchup against LSU. After 3 innings, the game is rained out and suspended for Tuesday morning, which is yesterday by the time you're listening to this. I'm recording on Tuesday and the game just ended. So the game gets rained out, gets suspended, and it gets moved to Tuesday morning. They were down 5-3 after 3 innings. In the first inning, they had around 3 runs, I think. Yeah, they scored their first 3 runs in the first inning. And then LSU just bounced back and scored 4 in the first inning. And then another one, I believe, in the second. So, yeah, it was you can make an argument that maybe the results would have been different if the game had finished on Monday night. But, who knows? You could really say the same thing about about LSU. So, it gets suspended, and then it gets moved to Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, LSU just blows the gates off of it. They scored 4 more runs. The Bruins only scored, 2 more runs, and the Bruins lost 9-5. Now, the interesting thing about this is that what the suspension did is it gave UCLA their first doubleheader of the entire season. They didn't have a single weather delay. The weather's pretty nice out there in Westwood. They didn't have a single weather delay all season except for today. And they, you could say what you want, but it's pretty unfortunate that you have to wake up at like 7 a.m. to go play your game at 8 a.m. Not even 8 a.m. I think it was like 9 a.m. Central Time in Omaha at Charles Schwab after you were up late, wondering if your game was going to get suspended or not. It's just pretty unfortunate because after they lost, no matter what, if they lost or if the game was suspended or not, they were going to have that elimination game against Arkansas Tuesday night, which is what just happened. So you could blame it on the doubleheader, you could blame it on whatever, but it's pretty unfortunate that had to happen. Regardless, UCLA's offense kind of just didn't show up against Arkansas. They didn't score a single run until the 9th inning. Arkansas just came off a no-hitter, the third all time in the College World Series history. And I guess they were just hot. Zach Root, he was a starting pitcher. He pitched, I think it was like 5 shutout innings. I will admit, though, I was watching, and the home plate umpire's strike zone was a bit far. It was a bit wide. I'll say it was a bit wide. But that's no. I think the Bruins had the bases loaded in the first inning, so they could have had early scores. They could have scored early. And then Arkansas, their star shortstop, he hits a 2-run home run, and that kind of opened the floodgates. Arkansas didn't score a lot. They only scored 7 runs? Yeah, they only scored 7 runs. They beat the Bruins 7-3. And I was listening to the broadcast, and the announcers, they brought up a good point. Leading up to this point and all through the season, the Bruins' strong suit was their bullpen. And their bullpen actually had the most appearances of any team in Division I baseball. Going into the game, however, against LSU, they used, I think it was like 9 different pitchers out of the bullpen. And today, I don't know how many they used. I should have written it down, but they used a ton of arms also. So on the broadcast, they were saying maybe, the way that they were used throughout the season had something to do with kind of them underperforming when it came to Omaha. Now, I'm not too sure about that because prior to these last two games, the bullpen was nails. The bullpen was really good, especially Easton Hawk. He's a star. He's only a freshman. But, I mean, there's a good argument. The way that they're used could have had an impact on how they came out these last two games. You could also say that, some of the arms that were used Tuesday morning were also used Tuesday night, although they only pitched like 10 pitches or something, but still, like, it probably had a good idea. And I mean, let's just be honest, like, the bats weren't live at all. In the regional rounds, the bats were live. I mean, I think going into the LSU game, so they were undefeated, 6-0. Going into that game, they were outscoring opponents 56-20, which is a pretty big margin. And a lot of that has to do with their bullpen, but a lot of it has to do with, like, especially in the regional rounds, they were putting up runs. In the super region, in the regional, they put up 19 against Fresno State. They put up 11 against Arizona State, and then they beat UC Irvine 8-5. So that's what, 19, 11, that's 38 runs over there only in the regional round. Obviously, they slowed down a little bit in the super regionals against UTSA and then kind of maintained that pace in Omaha. So it's just unfortunate. Rock Chalowski, their star shortstop, number one prospect for the 2026 draft, kind of struggled this postseason. He didn't have a single extra base hit at all. I don't think it's too concerning, and it's kind of part of what I wanted to get into after reviewing their postseason run. Is that if you watch the game, they were all smiles all game, despite getting shut out for 8 innings. They were all smiles. They were playing with string cheese in the dugout during their 9th inning rally. They scored 3 runs in the 9th inning before subsequently losing the game. But I think the reason that they're not upset is that this team actually overperformed all season. They weren't supposed to be here. Last season, they won 19 games, and many of the people, I think the broadcast said, like 11 of them came back next season. They were all freshmen. 8 of the 9 players in their lineup are sophomores. They're super young. They won 48 games. They overperformed. They're ahead of schedule. So I think they know, like, hey, this was fun. It's nice to get, these playoff reps in. In the NBA, all they talk about is, young teams need to get their playoffs reps in. Well, this is the perfect example of that. This young team coming off a 19-win season, going into the playoffs, they start off 6-0 in the postseason, and then they play a little bit more experienced teams when the going gets tough, and they I wouldn't say they were dominated because they were still competent, but even Coach John Savage said after the LSU game that LSU's experience might have gotten them over the hump in that game. And you know what? This is where you build a national championship team. They haven't been back since 2013, but with this foundation, this youth led by arguably the best player in baseball, even though he had a rough postseason, he's going to be back. He knows what it's like, just as the Bruins are going to be back. That's all the baseball I had. Let's go quickly into some football. UCLA football, they hosted a summer camp where over 700 prospects came all the way from the class in 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. So, Deshaun Foster, his coaching staff, UCLA, they were all getting in touch with these prospects. And one specific prospect I wanted to talk about was Wes Stansbury. If you don't know about me, I'm from El Paso, Texas. Wes Stansbury, he's a quarterback out of the class of 2028. He's also from El Paso, Texas. It's fun to talk about this because when an athlete makes it out of El Paso, and, growing up in El Paso, you think it's a pretty small city, but in the grand scope of things, like from a national perspective, it's actually quite large. But anyways, growing up and you see athletes making it to college, not even the pros, you see athletes making it to these big schools. It's pretty cool. And, the city backs them. So Wes Stansbury, he got an offer from UCLA. And I spoke to him. I spoke to his father, who actually played with Deshaun Foster in UCLA. He was his fullback for the last 2 seasons of Deshaun Foster's career with the Bruins. Talked to them. They're so excited. Ed Stansbury, who's Wes' father, said that it would be a dream come true for his son to wear the Bruins uniform. Wes Stansbury even said that this is his dream school, so this offer just might lead to a commitment soon. Who knows? He still has a long road ahead of him. He still has 3 more high school seasons before he graduates and goes to college. Yeah, it's a fun story. You guys can check it out. I wrote one on West and I wrote one on Ed. You can check them out both on UCLA Bruins on SI. On Wednesday, this is when they're going to be published. And yeah, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Connor Moreno, and we'll go ahead and see you guys tomorrow.